Hello and welcome. Today's video is dedicated to the problem of daily routine such as editing the data files, working with the bulk data files, with data archives, analyzing the data, and doing all sorts of data manipulations which you might need on a daily or weekly basis, depending on how frequently you receive the data from your partners. All that is added to the product called Data Explorer. It can be launched from the main SpecBuilder menu. Data Explorer by itself is a very fast and very efficient data editor. With Data Explorer, you basically no longer need editors like TextPad or UltraEdit or anything like that, because it gives you all that functionality and much more. So why don't we just take a look at that? So let me start with the data file. Data Explorer loads very fast. Let me click on that. So it's like instantly. You can open up the file very fast. Usually it loads like within 1 second. Now here I have this file opened. This is 850 file, the EDI file. The first thing which you might notice is there is some non-standard delimiter which was provided to us by the trading partner, and maybe we need to fix it to have the tilde standard delimiter. To do that, you don't need to do like search, replace, bother about the possible escape characters which use the delimiter and so on. There is a built-in mechanism called edit delimiters, so you can go here. And here you see, by the way, all the delimiters, not just the element delimiter. You can change anything you need. So we'll go ahead and change that to tilde. And voila, all the file is changed. So all the delimiters, so you can go ahead and save the file. You can use either the save button or the shortcut Control Save. So now we saved the file. Let's take a deeper look at the file itself and let's work with the file. So as EDI analyst, working with our trading partner, Great Supplies Inc., I mostly work with the raw material and the gas supply. So those line items are the particular interest for my area of business. I'm not concerned about the metal bars or anything else. So let's say I need to analyze this data to see all the items which relate to my items of interest. So what I can do is I can open the Find and Replace dialog. Let me put it back. So now I can do the search and look for the raw material. So I can just type raw material in here. And I can do file. I need to put some space in that. So I typed raw material and I can do find all, and it'll give me all the lines where raw material is used. So all those lines are here. I can click on those, I can position my cursor to those items, and I can quickly scan through that. Now, what if I need to just remember temporarily all those lines in case I need to go back to them? So for that, there is a mechanism called the bookmark. What we can do is we can right click here, or we can go to Find Replace and click this button. So that will put the bookmarks next to each line with raw material. Now if I go to Home, you will see the navigation buttons in here, so you can go to next, next, and my cursor changes position to the next or previous bookmark. This is how I can put some notes to some places of interest for me. Now, as I mentioned, the line item with the gas supply is also something I'm interested in, so I need both. So to bookmark or to select gas supply as well, I can go ahead and do that. I can find all again, but this time it will be gas supply, which is the result of my search. Then I can go back and bookmark those. Now, as you can see, we have bookmarked raw material and gas supply. Everything else is not bookmarked. So what can I do with this information which I just selected? One very unique thing which no other tool provides is we can export those segments. Because we have the built-in EDI knowledge, we can export those bookmarked segments into Excel spreadsheet. So it's as easy as that. We'll click on export. We give the file some name, so let's call it data. Save it, export, finish. Now we can open up that document. As you can see, we have all segments, PO1, and all fields are broken down. Now you can do pretty much anything what Excel allows. We can do some sum, we can verify what's the total amount of all items in this purchase order with limitation to only raw material and gas supply. So that's pretty handy, because just in one click you can export all that information and do any work you need with that. So we'll go ahead and close Excel for now. We'll go back to our document. Now what's interesting about this document, about this file, is if you notice that all values for quantity amount are like 50s, 30s, around that. But the raw material in this line item is quite big. I would say unusually big. Probably somebody needs to take a look at that and maybe contact the customer to see if there is a mistake or it was done intentionally. So how to convey that information to that other person? So in order to do that, we have the mechanisms to add comments in data. So what you can do is you can create new comment. We can click here, new comment, and now we can type anything like please verify this line items quantity. Now when somebody gets this document, they can open that up, see that comment, the comment will be highlighted, and let's say they double checked and everything seems to be fine. So they can reply to my comment saying verified with the customer, everything is alright. So that will give some history of back and forth conversation between these people. You can add as many comments as needed, like another comment, or if the comment has been addressed, we can just simply go ahead and remove it. So now we have removed all the comments, but let's actually revert the comment back. What we can do with that, we can save the file itself. It will save the content of the file, but we could also save the file with the comments. So if we go to File and Save As, we can choose to save it in the data package format. Data package format would include not only the data itself, but also the comments. So let's save that. Now, if we close the document and then reopen again the comments, now it opens up with all our comments. This is a very convenient way to collaborate within your team to not only add the user notes to the structure, to the schema, to the companion guide, but you can also do the same thing with the data, which is very important when you need to communicate certain information to your partners or to your colleagues. Now, if we take a look at the data, we see that there are some fields like who was the sender, who was the receiver, who is the supplier, and so on. We already covered this scenario while talking about the SpecBuilder overview and working with analyzing the data in SpecBuilder, but I'll just repeat that in context of Data Explorer. So let's imagine we need to send this data file to our vendor to do some analysis against the line item themselves. But we don't want them to see who was the sender, who was the receiver, so we kind of want to hide that information from them. So in order to do that, Data Explorer is empowered with the capability called data replace and data de-identification. What it is there is special editor which allows you to define the patterns. We call them match patterns, and the replace patterns. Basically, it tells what to look for in the data and how to transform this information in order to mask certain values. So we've created the sample for just few fields, ISA, JS, and 1 and 4. Now what you can do next is you can click on this data de-identification. Remember, we had the San Diego, Suppliers International, Great Suppliers. So we can click on data de-identification. We can pick the proper de-identification rule for 850, and our file has been updated. You see there is tester ID, sender ID, receiver ID, and this menu shows you all the changes which have been made to the data. So it shows what was the original data, what was replaced data, what is the match pattern, and what it means. So using that, you can very quickly, very easily mask your data, and you can apply the same rules to different data files. So if you work with multiple data files of the same type and even of different types, as long as they have the same segment, like 8 and 4 ISAJS, so you can apply those masks really to many different kinds of files. And now this file is safe to be sent to your trading partner or wherever it needs to be sent. Now let's take a quick look at the next aspect of editing the data. One example is if you look at the PO1 segment, let's take this segment as an example. This PO1 segment defines raw material. So if we just make this search button like this, PO1 raw material, and find all, it will give us a bunch of files, 16 lines found. And there is some now, what if we need to change just the last element from that line? We cannot just use the find replace because we do not need to damage that middle portion of the data. So we want to preserve that, but only for the raw material we need to change that ID to something static. So there is no easy way to do that with regular find replace, but luckily in Data Explorer there is a capability called match pattern. Match pattern is very similar to this pattern which is used for de-identification. It's like a very simple pseudo language to do search and replace. So let me show you an example. So just PO1 raw material will give you all the lines, but there is a way to do the replace preserving the middle portion. So to do that, I'll just put the star for every element. So just nothing between two stars means preserve the value which is between those two element separators. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to be kept. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to be kept, and then we'll put like D12. Actually, it will go to the replace. So in the replace section, we say keep everything as is. Absence of data means we want to keep the same data as it was in the found result. So we'll do that, and we can replace all. Now what happened is you see that all PO1s had the same raw material, same fields in between, but only the last element was replaced. And as you can see, gas supply, for example, is untouched. It has the old value, but only the new values are replaced. The match patterns can be pretty sophisticated, but this example gives you idea of what you can achieve. So you can do the replacements based on the like DTM qualifier. So only DTMs with certain qualifiers should be found, and only like second, third, fifth element must be replaced, retaining the remainder of the segment. There is also regular expression capability in here, but this is for really advanced users who are familiar with the regular expression syntax. So that is also enabled. But let's finish working with a single file. Usually you would want to work not just with a single file, but with a group of files. So let's say you have an archive of your data from the last week or from the last month, and you want to do some analysis against the bunch of data, not just one single file. So to do that, we have a special mechanism called file list. So we'll make it a bit bigger. File list allows you to import multiple files. So I'll import the archive from the last month. I'll click open. It opens up all those files. You can click on that. It'll load the file content, so you can edit, do whatever is needed with the file. What is good about this file list is not only does it allow to read the physical file information like the file size, when it was created, modified, original location, but it also allows you to configure your custom columns. For example, let's create the column which will hold the information about the total amount on the purchase order, which is the AMT segment. So we'll create the column. Let's give it a name, PO total. And now you can define how you want this data to be found. In this case, it is AMT 02. So we'll click OK. And the files are very quickly reparsed. The reparsing of the file is momentarily. So the files were reparsed, and now you see that next to each file there is a total amount for this purchase order. Now we can see that there are some purchase orders with bigger or smaller total amounts. So we can pick few ones with the bigger total amounts, and what we can now do is we can go and export certain segments only from those files again into Excel. So we can do it like this. We'll take, for example, PO1. We can save it to some summary data. Click next, and it'll work pretty much the same as previously. So we have all the line item from all segments, so we can again summarize that and see what's the summary on those line items. So this is how you would work with multiple data. So you can do some analysis across the data files. You can export or extract only the key raw information from those files to make your decisions, or to do some extra analysis against that data. Now what we can do next, that is obviously interesting because you can extract the value from there, but it doesn't give you the full perspective of how the data is broken down, what are the trends in the data, and so on. So in order to address that, there is a special tool which is again part of this product. It is called Pivot Report. What Pivot Report allows you to do is it can take those files from the list, in our case it's several purchase orders, and it can allow you to do the visual and interactive browsing through that data. So let me show you how that works. We can pick the structure, which is 850 in our case. We'll click next. Now it'll load the data files. It will analyze the structure, and then it will build this report. So this report shows how the data is broken down per different categories. So for example, let's break the data down by the party name. So now we see who are the suppliers. It can be Great Plain Inc., Investment LLC, or Suppliers International. And now from those data files we see that Suppliers International are buying the most from us, so they send us the majority of the purchase orders. So that allows us to make some decisions about that. For instance, we can see how the price is broken down for that particular partner. So we can make the unit price and make some breakdown. So we can see that mostly they buy the cheaper items, and there are only few items which are more expensive in the line. But what is a bit concerning is that like almost 90% of data is in this cheaper bucket, and those ones are too far out from the initial ones. So those are between 0 and 1000, and those are above 10,000. So we can click on that and we can see what is this line item. So we see what is the unit price, this is the gas supply, and what we can do now, we can actually go to the physical data file and we can see that this is that line item with gas supply and some unusual price. And as previously, probably what you're gonna do is you'll add some comment like please verify the unit price, seems to be too high. So you can place that comment, you can go back to the pivot, so we can clear all categories, and now what we can do is we can break that down by the city, so we can see where we need to ship the data. And apparently San Diego is one of the biggest cities. Now what we can do next is we can make additional breakdown to see which city, for example, receives the most expensive goods. So we'll do that. So by tweaking this, we can add or remove certain data from being displayed, and we see that San Bernardino and San Diego, they both received equal amount, pretty much equal amount of the most expensive goods. We can reverse that and see where the cheapest goods go, and we see that San Diego receives again the most cheapest items as well. So that information, and you can add more and more filters. So you can filter that by zip code, which leads us to Seattle, and we can add San Bernardino. So all different filters can be applied. If there are some dates involved, you can do that. You can filter that by your partner name or by the unit. So for example, we can see the distribution of the units, and we see that the gas supply is the least demanded good from us. So metal bricks and raw material is most frequently used. So all that analysis, along with ability to jump back and forth between the report and the raw data to add comments, save comments, print the information, you can do the data print out from here. So all that gives you pretty much all necessary tools to work with your data on a daily basis or whenever you need. So you can work as with a single data file, as with the data sets of data files, and you can do all sorts of analysis, exports, extracts, comments, pretty much everything. And then you can also switch to data analyzer. So that concludes our video about how to work with the data files in Data Explorer. Data Explorer was added only in version 8.4, so in order to leverage this very powerful product, you would need to upgrade to 8.4. Pivot Report is also part of Data Explorer, and it is available in 8.4. Thanks for your attention, and we'll see you soon. Bye.